That's all you're seeing.
I don't want to know. Yes. Mark, you're in the shadows again, I see.
Only the shadow knows.
Yes. Depends on how well lit the balcony is.
Well, the lights are coming down, so I'll be entertained by you guys.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
So we're just missing Councillor Fody. I'll just text him here.
All right, I gotta hit my lights.
Okay, well, it's 5:30. I'm sure Councillor Fody will join us shortly. We'll begin the meeting. Sorry, I just need to get back up to my agenda. So we'll call the meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. and I'll ask for any declaration of interest or general nature thereof. If you have an interest, please state it now. Councillor Olkey.
I'm not sure, but on one of the properties, it's adjacent to mine, across the road. I don't think there's any direct benefit to me, except there's intensification and perhaps some indirect benefits from that. But
we appreciate you bringing that forward, Madam Clerk. Does that constitute a conflict? He doesn't know the owners. He's not speaking for or against, I'm assuming.
I can't give a recommendation on that. You would have to see.
You would have to, if you feel, it's up to you, Councillor Olkey.
It's up to Councillor Olkey.
essentially, if Thomas Road hadn't become a forced road, that a large part of that niche would be on my lot, but it's a forced road, so it's not. That's the only thing I could see, but that's a law. That's nothing to do with us as this council, really. I just thought I should bring it up in case somebody knew something that I don't know.
Okay. Okay, so seeing none, I'll read the preliminary information that I do at the beginning of most of these meetings. So personal information collected at this public hearing is collected under the authority of the Planning Act and will be used to assist in making a decision on this matter. All names, addresses, and opinions and comments are collected and form part of the minutes which are available to the public. Questions regarding this collection should be forwarded to the Director of Planning. The purpose of public meetings is to present planning applications in a public forum that is required by the Planning Act. Following presentations by the applicant or staff, council members will have an opportunity to ask questions for clarification and or further information. The meeting will then be open to the public for comments and questions. When you speak, please provide your name and address for recording in the minutes. All comments should be directed to the chair of the meeting. The applicant will be provided the opportunity to address public questions once all members of the public have made their submissions. For the applications being presented tonight, a report and recommendation are being presented to council. Following a council decision, notice will be circulated in accordance with the Planning Act. If a person or public body would like to have the ability to appeal the decision of council to the local planning appeal tribunal, but the person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the township before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision. So thank you very much for your patience with the housekeeping, and we'll move forward with the next item on the agenda, which is Z-2021-004 Miller, 560 Junetown Road. Madam Planner, would you like to give us some background on that?
Thank you, through you, Your Worship. Can you all see my screen?
It's coming up now.
So this application was noticed in accordance with the Planning Act. So mail was sent to all landowners within 120 meters of the property. To date, there has been no input received from any members of the public with respect to this application. The application is proposing to rezone a portion of the property where my cursor is, to allow the manufacture of small accessory buildings to be sold. There will be some storage on site, but the majority of them will be sent off site. So the amendment is to put a site specific rural zone on this area of the property. There is also a severance application that will be filed to be consistent with the area of the zoning amendment. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Okay, so now that I can see everybody on the screen, questions in regards to this application. Councillor, maybe I'll recognize you first.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you to the planner. Is there ever a plan to be a sawmill on this property, for one? And will there be painting or a spray booth and possible aerosol type paints being used, potentially in a booth which may have a spray collection system put into it to actually mitigate any odors going into the atmosphere, as well as any dust from wood cutting machines, a dust collection system that actually collects all that material also. Thank you.
Madam Planner, should I be directing this to the applicants or can you answer that question?
I will try to answer, and then I think it would be wise to check with the applicants who are on the phone.
Okay.
However, based on our review of the application, we did inquire if there was going to be any milling of lumber on the site, and the response was no, that none of the lumber was going to be processed on the site. It would simply be the manufacture of the sheds. I don't believe that there's going to be a spray booth or any aerosol or filtration, that type of system on the property, but I think that it would be wise to check with the applicants to confirm that.
Okay. So I see that we have two people on the phone as of right now. So do we have Mark and Ada Miller or David and Ruth Ann Miller? Either one can answer the question. Madam Clerk, I'm not sure which one is who, but maybe you'd want to unmute one of them and we'll try to see if we've got one on the line here.
I've asked them both to unmute. Just waiting.
There we go. Go ahead.
Yes, this is David. Good evening there, everybody.
Okay.
So I guess you can all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so there will be no sawmill on the site. The dust will be very, very minimal. It's basically just going to be a chop saw and a table saw with a dust collector on it, so the dust is really, really minimal. There will probably, the barns will be painted with like a latex water-based paint, so it's nothing hazardous, if that answers any of your questions.
Yes, it does for me. Thank you very much.
I'm just curious how many people might
Mayor
be.
left the screen.
Sorry.
I think you acknowledged me, did you not, Your Worship?
I did. Thank you.
Okay.
I apologize if there was profanity. I was getting kicked off.
I'm just curious, as I always am, how many local people might you employ? Or is this an owner-operator thing solely? Thank you.
David, can you answer that question?
Yeah, so at this time, I don't know, are you all familiar? We're part of the Amish community here in Mallartown. So we obviously try to have family businesses as much as we can. So my brother, which owns a farm around it, is going to be working in there part-time for sure. And possibly, you know, as time goes on, a few more members of our community here. So yeah, as best I can that's the best I can answer. You know, at this time, I'm not exactly sure how many will be working there, but it's not going to be just a really, really large scale operation. But yeah, it's kind of a family type of thing, but it might expand to some of our community as well.
Okay. Councillor Gorell, you have a question for David.
I think I could direct this maybe to planning and the fire department, perhaps. Just in general terms, if a business of this nature is building, does the building code then just apply as any industrial building or commercial rather, or is there any special, not special, is any particular requirements in the building of the building? I see it's 72 by 42 or something, quite substantial. I just wondered if it requires anything special in terms of commercial building. Thank you.
Marnie, would you like to speak to that?
Thank you, through you. So this will be subject to site plan control in addition to the zoning bylaw amendment, where we will look at the layout of the property, fire routes, circulation, storage, those types of details. Through that, we'll also be consulting with the building official as well as fire to make sure that all of the details are met. I certainly can't speak to the classification of the structure under building code or what that would be, but it'll have to comply with the Ontario Building Code in terms of the type of occupancy of the building that's proposed.
Okay. Any further questions in regards to this application? Seeing none, are there any questions from any of the participants? There doesn't seem to be. So I will move on in the agenda to 3.2, which is Z-2021-006, McConnell, Griffin, McConnell, 161 Thomas Road. So we will ask the planner to give us a synopsis, and then we'll go to the councillors for questions and then to the public. Go ahead, Director. Oh, sorry. Before you go, Councillor Gorell. Sorry, you're muted. Sorry, I can't hear you.
I just wanted to wish the Millers best of luck in their endeavor. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Go ahead, Director.
Thank you, through your worship. Notice for this meeting was provided in accordance with the Planning Act. There has been no contact with the office or no response to the notices that have been provided. I would note that Emma Stuckey from IBI Group is here representing the applicant and has prepared an overview of the application for council. So I'd like to turn it over to her if you're okay with that.
I certainly am. Go ahead, Ms. Stuckey.
Hi, thank you. I'll share my screen here. Can everyone see the?
We can. Go ahead.
Okay, great. So my name is Emma Stuckey. I'm a planner at IBI Group, and I'm representing the owners of 161 Thomas Road. So the purpose of this zoning bylaw amendment is to permit the construction of a single detached dwelling, which is on an existing lot of record. And in order to do this, requesting to reduce the required separation distance to land zoned mineral resource quarry, mineral resource aggregate, and mineral resource bedrock from 300 meters down to approximately 20. So here's an overview of the location of the site. The subject property is outlined in red. It's on Thomas Road, so just off of Highway 15. The yellow stars show the existing dwellings in the area that have either been recently approved or existing. There is a small scale quarry that's operational to the south of the subject lands. So this is an overview of the site. So in total, the area or the lot has an area of approximately 1.3 hectares, frontage on Thomas Road. Access is currently provided from a gravel driveway. It's currently vacant, but it's understood that there was a single detached dwelling on the property previously that was destroyed by fire, but currently vacant, and it's the owner's intention to develop or put up replace the single detached dwelling and a garage. So here's the proposed development showing the approximate locations of garage and dwelling. The proposal is going to meet all the other requirements of the rural zone, so showing the yard setbacks here as well. So on our review, we found it to be consistent with the intent of the 2020 provincial policy statement. Single detached dwellings are permitted uses in the rural area. The addition of a single detached dwelling on an existing lot of record would be compatible. No new infrastructure is needed to support the development. And again, the mineral aggregate resources in the area would be protected from incompatible development. It's outside of natural hazards, and there's no anticipated impacts to public health or safety. So it is designated rural in the official plan. It is within adjacent lands of sand and gravel resources as well as bedrock resources. The use of proposed single detached dwelling is permitted in the rural area. It will result in minimal environmental impact. It will not preclude or hinder mineral resource extraction. We discussed that in the justification we submitted, but there's existing dwellings that are closer to the resources than this one would be. It's located outside of the woodland designation. It's at low risk for wildland fire and does not constitute a drinking water threat. So it's our opinion that the proposal conforms to the official plan of the township. The property is within the rural zone. As you can see, it's within approximately 20 meters of the mineral resource bedrock zone. So what we're proposing, or the applicant is proposing, is a site-specific rural zone to address the setback to aggregate resources, looking to reduce the required setback in order to permit the dwelling from approximately 300 to 20, just to recognize that existing, understanding that there's existing and proposed dwellings that would be closer to the land zone for those resources. So again, just to further support this, it's an existing lot of record that was previously occupied by a dwelling. The rural zone permits residential dwellings. There are existing dwellings located closer to identified mineral resources, and the adjacent quarry is small scale and not regularly active. So based on this, the proposed dwelling should not further hinder any extraction of the resources, and the proposed development will comply with all provisions of the rural zone. So based on this, in summary, the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is consistent with the provincial policy statement, conforms to the official plan, and is compatible with surrounding land uses. So we believe it represents good planning and is in the public interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stuckey. There we go. Wonderful. So now I can see everybody's faces. Are there any questions in regards to this application? Deputy Mayor Lackey. You're not, sorry, you're muted still, sorry.
Just wondering when the last time the quarry was in use.
Oh, I unfortunately don't have the exact time it was used, but we did address this through the recent application on 90 Thomas Road, and believe there was correspondence there that it was sort of used intermittently.
Madam Planner, you had your hand up. Do you have an answer for that?
Thank you, through your worship. Just to comment that when we did review the previous application as well as this one, we did consult with the ministries, and it's been some time. We don't know the exact date. However, there was also some comments with respect to the quality of the resource in the quarry and that it's not something that's extracted regularly.
Councillor Olkey.
Thank you, Your Worship. I believe it's at least 10 years since any stone cutting was done there. The Tackaberry group goes in and moves stuff around once in a while to show that the site is still active, licensed. I don't think there's been any cutting for at least 10 or 12 years. And mostly what they have there are fairly large boulders and piles of crushed gravel. And that's about all. And the bigger quarries down the road, there are still some huge blocks up that are numbered, but they can't get them out because of the steepness. And there's been no cutting there for about 25 or 30 years. The green quarry that is on Highway 15 has been inactive for 30 years.
Thank you. Are there any further questions in regards to the application in front of us today? Seeing none, then I will move on from that. Thank you, Ms. Stuckey, and we appreciate your presentation on behalf of McConnell, Griffin, and McConnell. Seeing nothing else on this particular application, the motion, excuse me, I require a mover and a seconder in order to adjourn the public meeting. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Olkey, and the seconder, Councillor Maybe, that the public meeting adjourn. All those in favor, please signify. All those opposed, and the motion is carried. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you at the 6:30 meeting.